Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 346. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we've got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
We're trying out this microphone thing again. Kevin's not joining us from the phone this week, so hopefully it won't sound too bad. We're giving it another go here. This week on the show, we'll be taking a look at Rian Johnson's Knives Out, along with someone watching on the watch list, new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Remember to please consider reviewing us on iTunes if you get a chance. That would be incredible. No housekeeping this week. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday in the U.S.
Yes.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. You?
Yeah. I watched a lot of movies that we'll get to.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy.
Jesus.
It's that year-end catch-up. That's what's happening. Cramming them all in. Just cramming.
Keep it short.
I will. Don't worry. I'm gonna gloss over some. I think maybe there's probably a couple that we might do like full reviews on, depending on what the coming weeks look like. So with that, let's jump into our review. We're talking about Knives Out. Again, this is directed by Rian Johnson, also written by Rian Johnson. I have a synopsis here. A detective investigates the death of a patriarch of an eccentric, combative family. This features a very robust cast. Loving the cast here on this movie. You got Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Don Johnson, Toni Collette, Lakeith Stanfield, Christopher Plummer, Catherine Langford, Ricky Lindholm is in there. Frank Oz is in there. Mm-hmm. Frank Oz. Who else am I missing? I'm missing Noah Segan, of course. Anybody else that I'm missing? Edie Patterson. Great cast, great ensemble. Now this is sort of structured as your classic whodunit. I feel like we haven't had a really solid whodunit in quite a long time. Kevin, we'll start with you. Now I know you're a big fan of the whodunit, as am I. What were your initial impressions of Knives Out?
I don't know if I would necessarily say a huge fan. I'm a prisoner to them, as I've said before, where it's just this compulsion that I have that if someone even suggests that someone might have done something and posits, the question of who done it, I have to find out. I have to see. I have to wait around and find out. I might not enjoy it at all, but I still got to know. I mean, that's how I've watched most of Law and Orders. I don't really like Law and Order. I don't like that show. It's stupid. But if I catch a glimpse of it, I got to stay there.
Got to see it through to the end.
But Knives Out is pretty damn enjoyable viewing experience, I got to say. There's a couple times where it got a little bit too cute with it. Rian Johnson got a bit cute with his screenplay there, which is just a little cringy. But I think for the most part, it's a pretty tight. Was it like 130 minutes? I think.
Yeah.
Like a little over 2 hours, but it's a pretty tight 2+ hours. I will say. I agree. It felt pretty light and breezy to me.
I completely agree. I think that he keeps things moving. Everything moves at a really nice clip. Like you're going from sequence to sequence. You got flashbacks in there. Everything moves along very, very nicely. I feel like there's not a whole lot in here that necessarily could have been trimmed out or should have been trimmed out. I thought that it was a really tight runtime. Yes, it was over 2 hours, but it was like I didn't feel that. Like looking at, I just now looked at the runtime when you mentioned it, and I was like, oh wow, didn't really realize that it was that long.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was sort of a perfect runtime. You're dealing with a lot of characters in here. This is a big cast, and there's a lot of moving parts to it, a lot of twists and turns, and I think that the runtime lent itself to that, and allowed Rian Johnson to really sort of flesh out this story and the characters.
Yeah, I think it did do a pretty decent job of that, having this many characters, but none of them really. I mean, for the most part, none of them felt, like completely underdeveloped. I mean, there's some of the outlying characters. Yeah, okay, I could see that they were a bit thin and just kind of used in a couple of spots when needed. But overall, I think pretty well done. Now, again, the only thing that I was actually kind of surprised about, and I don't know how you felt about this, but there was a good part of me that was expecting more comedy. Not to say that it's not funny. I did chuckle here and there, but it didn't really come off as like a full blown comedy to me.
No, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would classify it as a comedy. Certainly, there are a lot of funny moments, and I also laughed a pretty decent amount. But there were several times throughout this that I realized that I was just smiling. Like I was just having, even though I might not have been outwardly laughing, I had an absolute blast with this from start to finish. So there were a couple times where I was like, oh, I was just grinning. I felt myself grinning throughout this whole movie just because I was having such a good time with it, and just just being there with this eccentric family, as it says in the synopsis, and just seeing where this mystery leads. I thought it was just so much fun. It might be one of the most enjoyable theatrical experiences I've had this year.
I could see that. I don't know if it was just there was this expectation that I built into it because of Daniel Craig's southern drawl that he has. Seeing that in the trailer that led me to think this was going to be more of a comedy. But when it seemed like it was fully planted in like the murder mystery thing. I was like, oh, okay, this isn't okay. But why is the Daniel Craig voice? Why? I just had trouble with that, I think. Because it's like, why is he doing that then? If this isn't a comedy. Did he need to do that? I don't know. Just the idea of Daniel Craig doing that voice me just it communicates to me that, hey, this is going to be a comedy, guys.
I thought it was great. I liked the character. I think that goes back to the sort of classic detective story where you have the sort of goofy, eccentric, brilliant detective character.
I will say the only thing that voice helped with was his whole donut hole thing.
Yeah.
He goes on that because it did work for that. Him and his goddamn donut hole.
I thought that was great. I thought performances across the board were, again, I think that the performances here were, it just aided in my enjoyment of the movie. They were so over the top, and the characters, like, you just know when watching this that, or at least it seems like, all of the actors that were involved in this just had a really fun time making this movie and portraying these ridiculous characters.
Yes.
I loved Lakeith Stanfield's character. He plays sort of the straight detective on this, just reacting to these ridiculous people and their, first world problems, and just how silly all of them are. And I thought that casting him in that role of just this cop who has to deal with them, I thought that was just some really brilliant casting. Of course, Toni Collette was a nut, and I thought her character was really funny too. I thought they were all really solid.
I did enjoy. Yeah, I enjoyed everyone. I think to me Noah Segan was pretty great as the trooper, because he was just into it.
Oh yeah,
he was not professional at all. He's enjoying himself.
I thought Noah Segan was great. He was just because he was, he's like a fanboy. Like
He's
he was
just a
just
big time
starstruck.
fan.
He's just so starstruck the whole time. He's just so excited. Like not
He had
only,
the point at
yeah, like not only was he excited to be in the presence of the Thromby family, but he was like, the reason he was such a huge fan is because he wrote mystery novels, so he was like kind of obsessed with like the whole, whodunit thriller to begin with. So to be involved in an actual whodunit, I think he was just losing his shit the whole time, and it was incredible. Now, without spoiling anything, what did you think of the actual mystery, the turns that it took, the outcome, all of that?
I don't know. It's tough to say because to me, I mean, from the outset, it's pretty obvious. And in that regard, I didn't think it was that great of a whodunit because to me it was pretty straightforward to begin with. Not straightforward in the sense of like every single like step that happens and why it happens, but who would inevitably be the person responsible. That okay. To me, that was pretty much you knew that from the outset, which was kind of a bit of a letdown, but at the same time, it was also kind of impressive that still able to make it as entertaining and as enthralling as it was. Because at a certain point, it really became less of who done it. Just it was more so a matter of how and why.
And I think that always makes for the best type of whodunit, that even after you discover who the culprit was, there's the more entertaining aspect of it is the steps that they took, the plan, how they executed it, and like the complexity of why they're doing this and their motivations and all of that stuff. And I thought that all of that was really great. I will agree with you that Rian Johnson also avoided throwing a lot of red herrings into it as well, which I appreciated. I don't like. I find red herrings to be kind of lazy a lot of the time, and he pretty much avoided those. Like all the pieces fit together very nicely in this, and there's a lot of clues. And when you go back and think about it, there's a lot of like little subtle things that you can see, a lot of breadcrumbs, and not a whole lot of just dead ends.
Yeah,
which I really appreciated. But yeah, I will agree that it's not like a bombshell or anything. But the more interesting things happen after you discover who did it, and I certainly appreciate that too. I don't really have too many negative criticisms with this movie. I just thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. I thought it was so well crafted.
The only thing that gets me a little bit is the stand-in for what this movie is. The deliberate choices of Marta, immigrant family, so much talk of the Trump stuff, and just that whole overarching thing, symbolism wise, it was too much for me. It was a bit ridiculous. Like it was just be a standard entertaining whodunit.
Yeah,
I don't think the political stuff really worked too well.
It is very overt. It didn't bother me too much, but yeah, it's certainly
it didn't bother me too much because I think, like, yes, it's overt, and yes, it's like throughout the entire film, just the way everything's set up. But at the same time, it's very easy to just be like, I'm not gonna pay attention to that. I'm just gonna focus in on the whodunit thing, and it doesn't You know what I mean? Ignoring those aspects of the movie isn't detrimental to the movie itself. Like you can just ignore that section of it and just be like, okay,
Yeah.
thank you, and then work with the rest of it, and it's fine. It works fine.
I really enjoyed, of course, the home, the like the mansion and everything. I thought that it all looked incredible. I love that it had like hidden rooms and secret doors and all of that stuff. Everything felt very ornate, and I just loved all the set design in this as well. I thought it was all pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the perfect house for a whodunit.
I just miss mysteries like this. Like, I just feel like we don't get enough of them. So I just found everything about this to be so refreshing.
I hear you. But there's also Clue. You can always just rewatch Clue.
Well, it's funny.
Because do you think it's better than Clue?
Do I think it's better than Clue?
Do you think it's better than Clue?
Well, it's been many years since I've seen Clue.
I have no idea either. I just know that I love Clue, but I haven't seen it either for a while, so I don't even. I'm sure it holds up.
I think it probably does hold up, but it's. I do want to. Want to rewatch Clue pretty badly.
I know, because I just realized like it hit me really hard that I really want to watch Clue.
Yeah,
like, right now.
Well, I love how they even mentioned Clue in this movie, which I thought that line was funny. Yeah, I thought that the alt-right son was funny.
Yeah, no one was really worried about that kid. I feel like they should be more worried, but they are rich, so
yeah. Well, you know,
I just don't care.
Yeah, it seemed like his dad, who was the Michael Shannon character, Walt Bromby, was pretty.
He just didn't understand it.
He was pretty aloof to the whole thing. Everybody else knew, but he was just kind of aloof.
Yeah, I think my favorite moment, just everything about it, is Michael Shannon just screaming in Chris Evans' face with a sleeve of Biscoff cookies.
Yeah.
Just berating him and tell him to eat more cookies.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts? I don't think we need to do a spoiler section on this or anything. I think that it's just best to go in completely cold on this and just enjoy it for what it is. I don't think it's necessary that we dive into the spoilers.
No, I don't think so.
All right. What are you going to give Knives Out of 10?
I give I'm thinking like a 7.5. I might lean towards an 8. I'm just a little bit apprehensive of an 8. I think it's still too early for me to commit to that. So we'll see in a couple of days.
Okay. I'm sitting at like an 8.5 on this one.
Okay.
I think this will most likely end up on my top 10 of the year. Oh, certainly.
I had a feeling it would.
I think I'm going to do my top 10 a little bit different this year. Whereas in previous years, I would do what I thought the best movies were of the year. I think this year I'm just going to do my favorites, just my personal favorites.
Yes.
And not
do it.
I
mean, that's essentially what best means anyway. Even if you're saying these are the movies that I think are the best. In
previous years though, there were a lot of movies that I liked personally more than, some of the things that were higher up on the list. But this year I'm just straight like personal preference. I'm not going to be, obviously you can't be when you're making a top 10 list, you're not really, you can't be completely objective, but I try to be more objective in my top 10s.
It's inherently impossible just from the fact, like, if you give me a top 10 list, I'm just going to be like, well, how many 2019 movies did you see? And you're going to tell me the number, and I'm just going to be like, well, this is ridiculous. Like, why would I listen to your list? You've seen maybe an eighth of them? Because, just all the stuff that comes out, you know what I mean? Like, it's not possible to see everything.
Anyway, that's Knives Out, that is playing in theaters right now, and I would highly recommend checking it out. It's worth it to go see this one in the theater, I think.
Yeah, I had because like you said, I think this might be one of the more enjoyable times I had at the movie theater this year. Probably this and Crawl.
Yeah, Crawl was fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about someone we're watching. As I said at the top of the show, I've watched a ridiculous number of movies
Here we go.
that I'm cramming in. So I'm going to keep my thoughts as brief as I can for these, and I'm going to omit some of the older ones. You can check out my list on Letterboxd to see everything I've been cramming in there. The first one I'll mention is The Irishman.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the big Scorsese movie. It's on Netflix right now. I thought it was incredible. It's, again, certainly one of the best movies of the year. It is epic. I know that the first thing everybody talks about is the runtime on this one. And I think that that's a shame. That's like the first that's like the primary thing people talk about is the runtime on a movie. And it's like, I feel like that's sort of overshadowing all of the incredible performances in here. Just, I mean, yes, it's on Netflix, but man, it is very, very much a Scorsese movie. I mean, it's really up there. It's great to see him going back to the gangster movie, and this is a hell of a gangster movie. And it's also great to see him, reteaming with Bobby D, Al Pacino, Pesci, and then you have people like Ray Romano in there, Bobby Cannavale's in there, Harvey Keitel. Great cast. And if you're not familiar, it's the story of Frank Sheeran, who is basically a hitman for the mob. And he was heavily involved with Jimmy Hoffa. Pacino plays Hoffa, and Frank Sheeran is played by Robert De Niro. It's great. It is long. It's 3.5 hours long. So it is, there's a lot going on in this movie. It spans decades. It basically is his whole life. And so there's a lot of stuff to cover. And yes, it is long, but, and yes, I do believe if Scorsese really wanted to, he could have trimmed it down and kept it more concise, but I understand what he was doing. He wanted to go through this man's whole life. And one of the interesting things is, a lot of these mob movies sort of end with, the person either dying or going to jail. And then that's sort of the end of the movie. And then you have your little thing that pops up at the end and says whatever happened to him, right? In this one, it just straight up follows him. It follows him into old age, and it follows him into him, like his body shutting down on him as he becomes older and ends up in like a nursing home and goes all the way through to the end of his life. And I thought that was kind of an interesting take on this like mob story. I also didn't have a problem with the de-aging stuff. That's another thing that a lot of people are talking about, is that they de-age a lot of the characters in this movie. I didn't really have a problem with it. I didn't think it looked bad. I thought it looked pretty damn good. It was a subtle de-aging. It wasn't like crazy over the top or anything. So I can recommend The Irishman. And I would also recommend taking the time to just watch it in one sitting. I think that you get more out of it if you can get through it in one sitting.
Yeah. Look, I'll give that a shot. But not happening. I can tell you that right now. But I am looking forward to this one. And I think, because I'm a person, I think that was a bit of a subtweet at the beginning there of people in runtimes. And I am a person that, that's one of the first things that I look at. But I think with when it comes to Scorsese, I mean, I know that runtime going in. Like, I don't even need to check it, right? Irishman comes out, and I'm like, yeah, this is probably like 3+ hours. And I also trust him to know what he's doing for 3+
Right.
hours. Unlike some directors who try and do that straight out the fucking gate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, you're not a talented storyteller. Like, you should not be doing, you're just rambling for 3 hours.
I'll be honest, it didn't feel like 3.5 hours. I mean, you feel the length for sure. I mean, I think it's impossible not to, but
Yeah.
I didn't find myself getting antsy or anything like that. I did watch it at home. I didn't watch it in the theater.
Gotcha.
Also, Pesci, man, come back.
That's the thing that I'm most excited for. I'm most excited to see Joe Pesci.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, we haven't seen him in at least a decade. So for him to come back, I think that's pretty incredible. And then, of course, there's a lot of really great scenes with De Niro and Pacino just chewing up the scenery together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, man. Like, none of them lost it, with as they got older. Sometimes when actors get older, they kind of lose it, and they're not really at the height of their game anymore. And with these guys, it's just like they go right back into it, and they're just killing it, just scene after scene, just murdering. Sometimes literally, depending on the scene in this movie, because it is it's a mob movie, so there is some violence. And of course, it's that Scorsese style where it's like brutally realistic, where you're just like, oh my God. And it always happens. And like, it's just so shocking.
Obviously, I look forward to it. I watched The Fanatic from 2019.
I do want to see this. I do still want to see this.
You have to, because it's not bad. It's not like a bad, like, I was kind of going into it kind of expecting this just to be a fucking train wreck, right? And it kind of is. It's a little bit of a train wreck, but for the most part, it's not really. And the thing that's just hard to get over is John Travolta's character of Moose, who is the fanatic, who kind of loses it. And he plays him as, I don't know where on the autism spectrum he's supposed to be, but he plays him that way. And it's just ridiculous, this stuff that he does. And, of course it escalates and it escalates, and it kind of culminates with I want to say it's violent. It tries to go for tense, like it tries to be like a very tense scene. This culmination at the end here, but it just didn't really work that well for me. And then it kind of fizzled out at the end. I thought it did a decent enough job of like escalating it up until the inevitability of this confrontation between him and he's obsessed with Hunter Dunbar, the great actor Hunter Dunbar, played by Devon Sawa. And Devon Sawa is good in this. And it felt like it did a good enough job up until that point, and then it just kind of fizzled out, stumbled down the stretch. But I recommend it just to see John Travolta and what he's doing here, because he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot of stuff. Like, one of the first things he says is he goes into this store and he says, "Hi," whoever the guy's name is. He's like, "I can't be long. I have to take a poo." And like that's how you're introduced to him. And you've seen the still photographs of like what he's wearing, the outfits that he's wearing, the haircut that he has. He drives around a little Vespa scooter type deal. I mean, it's something else.
Yeah, I'll have to give this a look before the end of the year.
I mean, it's I think Amazon Prime has it. I think that's where I watched it.
And that's Fanatic. Is it The Fanatic or just Fanatic? Yeah, The Fanatic.
The fucking Fanatic.
I saw Jojo Rabbit. This is directed by Taika Waititi. Very excited for this one. This is like one of my most anticipated movies of the year. If for some reason you're not familiar, it takes place during World War II in Germany, and it is about a kid who is in the Hitler Youth, and he has an imaginary friend who is Hitler. And his imaginary Hitler friend just gives him life advice and just gets him through the day. He gets picked on by the other kids in the Hitler Youth Brigade or whatever the hell you want to call it. And what happens is he ends up discovering that his mom, played by Scarlett Johansson, is hiding a young Jewish girl in their house. And he sort of, hates her at first, but then he starts to get to know her and they develop a friendship, and it causes him to rethink this whole Nazi thing. And it's, I thought it would be funnier than it was. And I guess I don't know what I think. Well, the problem with this movie is that my expectations were just way too high for it. And I don't exactly know what I was expecting, and I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't at the level that I kind of hoped it would be. So in some regards, I was a little bit let down with it. It is very funny, but the overall narrative, I just was left wanting a little bit more from. There's some really, it tackles this subject. I mean, this is a really tricky subject to tackle in a comedy. And I thought that Waititi did a really good job of sort of straddling that line, where he does a good job of poking fun of the Nazis and how ridiculous everything was, but he never minimizes or diminishes the atrocities that were happening during that time. So there are a number of scenes that you see that are quite shocking and tough to watch. Sam Rockwell is in this too. He was pretty great in it. Rebel Wilson is in it. She's really funny too. She plays, both of them play Nazi officers. Rebel Wilson plays this, like, I'm not sure really what her role is, but she's working with the Nazis as well. The kid did a really great job too. Roman Griffin Davis, I believe. He does a really great job. But yeah, overall, I'd say it's worth a look, but I just wasn't quite as enamored with it as I was some of his other films. This one felt really, really reminiscent of a Wes Anderson movie. I think that all of
that was the kind of thing that I was getting vibes from, and it was just, everything about it to me was just kind of off-putting. It's just like, like Wes Anderson's Holocaust.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want that.
I think a lot of Waititi's stuff has sort of a Wes Anderson vibe, but this one, like, really feels, really, I mean, the music selection, the color palette, or we have like a lot of like kind of pastels in this and stuff. It all feels, and a lot of the specific camera shots too feel very reminiscent of a Wes Anderson movie, and just like the kids in the camp and stuff that they're in, where they're like throwing grenades and stuff.
Yes, that's true.
Feels very, very much like a Wes Anderson movie.
Well, I too got to watch a movie. Maybe my movie has been on my anticipated list for a little bit longer than Jojo Rabbit was for you. And that's Two Planes
Here
and
we
a Fancy.
Go. Those of you listening, this has been on Kevin's most anticipated list for about 5 years.
So this is the newest movie directed by Whitney Horn, Lev Kalman. They did L for Leisure, if anyone remembers that movie, if you saw that movie.
Hell yeah.
I think me and you both enjoyed that one quite a bit. I know that it's partially not right to, kind of pit this against Elf for Leisure, but it was going from Elf for Leisure to Two Planes and a Fancy. This was a bit of a letdown. It just didn't hit the same way that Elf for Leisure did. Like, it still had kind of pretty much the overall same kind of tone, where it's just this kind of loose, just kind of stream of consciousness, whatever happens, comedy type deal. This one here, instead of like Elf for Leisure, where it was, like spring break in the 90s or whatever, this is in out west in the olden days, in the 1890s. You got two women, they're the two planes, and then you have a Fancy, the dandy, and they're going around, they're checking out like natural spas, hot spas, checking it out, doing some research and whatnot. And I mean, there's moments here and there that are kind of enjoyable, they're kind of humorous, but just not at the clip that kept me entirely engaged throughout. I mean, thankfully there is some gorgeous cinematography just of the landscapes, just the natural landscape kept me occupied, because there seems to be a lot of that too, where there's just this lot of, I don't want to say filler, but it almost comes across that way, where there's just a lot of B-roll, just had a lot of establishing shots. Let's throw some music on and let's show some buttes and mesas and some mountains, and then just kind of cycles through that until you get to the next whatever little bit skit thing that they do. So I mean, for me, I've been waiting 5 years, for Christ's sake, and it was a letdown.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And that's Two Planes and a Fancy. Let us never utter that title again. It's a good title, though, to be clear.
It is a good title.
I saw The Report. This is now available on Amazon Prime.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is
real quick. Two Planes and a Fancy was on Amazon Prime as well. Sorry.
Okay. Is that like stream? That's free on Prime?
Yep.
Okay. This is also free on Prime. The Report, directed by Scott Z. Burns, stars Adam Driver, Annette Bening. John Hamm is in this. And tells the true story of Daniel Jones, who was the lead investigator for the investigation into the CIA's detention and interrogation program, the torture program, if you remember that whole fiasco. So this is a political thriller that just dives into the incredible amount of work and time that it took to put together this report, the crazy things that they found, and then the subsequent not cover up, but attempted suppression of the report, where even after, so it took him like 5 years to compile this, and the initial report was like 7,000 pages long. And even after he like boiled it down into like a 400-page summary, they didn't want to release it. They didn't want to do anything about it. They just wanted to sort of sweep it under the rug. And this was the Obama administration, actually. By the time, this was finished, it was in the Obama administration. And it's pretty good. It's your pretty standard political thriller. It reminded me, I feel like there's at least one of these that come out every year around, Oscar season. And this is just another one. It felt like I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. What was the one that came out? It was like The Big Short.
There's The Big Short, The Informant, which this guy wrote. Wasn't The Informant? Didn't that have? I thought that was kind of somewhat similar, but he also produced The Laundromat, because isn't The Laundromat is it the Panama Papers? Is that what The Laundromat?
The Laundromat is the Panama Papers, yeah.
And then what was the big one? The Big Daddy with Meryl Streep in them. Post?
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, The Post. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, so I feel like there's just one of these that pops up every year, and this one, it was fine. Like I didn't have too many problems with it. It was engaging. It was a fascinating story. I think that it's something that we should all be aware of, like that, how this happened and how it went down. And the fact that all of the people that were responsible for essentially torturing or carrying out the torture of detainees, many of whom were innocent, nothing happened to them. There were no repercussions. No one was fired. In fact, a lot of these people ended up getting promoted. The two guys that created the program ended up making millions of dollars of taxpayer money through the contract they had. And so I think that it is an essential piece of history that we all need to be aware of. And so I think it's an important film, but as far as the movie itself, it's pretty average. You know, good.
They normally are.
Yeah, I mean, good performances across the board. Adam Driver was great. Annette Bening was really great too. But you know, it was fine. I don't have much more to say about it. Other than that, I would recommend giving it a watch on Amazon Prime.
That's it for me.
So I saw Daniel Isn't Real. This is a horror movie that's coming out on Friday. This is directed by Adam Egypt Mortimer. This is a psychological thriller. Just imagine a horror movie version of Drop Dead Fred, and that's what Daniel Isn't Real is. It's about this guy who he had an imaginary friend when he was little, and the imaginary friend essentially had him attempt to kill his mom. And after that, she survived. But after that happened, he locked Daniel away in his mind. And as an adult, he ends up letting Daniel back out. And at first, everything's going good. Daniel's helping him out, helping him like be confident and talk to women and just be a better person, I guess, at first. But then he starts to do some really evil, nefarious things. And like, he's not sure if he's going crazy because his mom is schizophrenic and she ends up in a hospital. So he thinks that he's like going insane, but it turns out that there may be something else going on here, something a little bit more supernatural. And at first I was like, you know, this is fine. It's nothing great. But at the end, towards the end of the movie, towards the big climax, it goes off the rails in a pretty big way. And that's when I was like, whoa, they're doing some really interesting stuff here. There's some crazy like makeup effects going on. Nice. And it gets pretty wild towards the end. Okay. So it definitely redeemed itself at the end because it goes to some pretty weird places.
Nice.
Not at all what I expected. So I would give it a light recommend. Daniel Isn't Real. And again, that'll be on VOD on Friday as well.
I'll have to check that out. Because as soon as you said goes off the rails.
Yeah.
Yes.
It gets a little crazy. It almost,
I wish every horror movie just went off the rail.
Yeah. It almost feels like a throwback to like 80s or 90s where there's like lots of prosthetics and stuff being used.
Yes.
I also saw Little Joe. This is directed by Jessica Halsner. This is a sci-fi horror movie that is about, so it stars Emily Beecham as a botanist. She's like she's engineering new plants that have different medicinal properties, and she develops this plant that when you sniff it, it makes you feel good. Like, so it releases oxytocin or something in your brain that it's basically an antidepressant plant that just by having it in your home will help make you happier. And it turns out that there's something really awful going on with these plants. Like it didn't go right. It did not go according to plan. And she names the plants Little Joe because her son's name is Joe. And as it turns out, Little Joe is up to no good.
Oh boy. Oh,
this is one that I thought started off really compelling. The music is really jarring. Like the music in this is just, it almost feels Asian inspired. Like there's a lot of Asian instruments and things in it, but then like it'll just randomly go to like sort of this almost industrial noise where there's like loud barking dogs, and that's like part of the score.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very really kind of a unique score on this. I liked the look of it. Everything in this movie feels very, very sterile. Lots of like really kind of faded colors, and a lot of it takes place in this like lab. So yeah, everything looks very clean. And then you have like, you know, this like white lab, and then you have these like bright red, creepy looking flowers everywhere. So I liked the aesthetics of it quite a bit. I wasn't a big fan of it overall. I thought that the messaging was a little off, and I think you might be able to, it could be easy to misconstrue the message behind this movie, and unless the message is that antidepressants are bad and no one should ever take them, because that's kind of what it seems like they're going for here. But it sort of has a Body Snatchers vibe to it. Yeah, it didn't really stick the landing for me, so I can't really recommend Little Joe. Hope to have a review for that up shortly. The other one I'll mention is Honey Boy. Now this is the one I was thinking that we might review.
We probably will.
Yeah, so I won't really get into Honey Boy. We'll save that for a future episode. I'll end it off with something that I started to do last week and then continued into this week, and that's started getting into the films of Cynthia Rothrock. If you're not familiar with Cynthia Rothrock, she was a big action actress who sort of came up in the Hong Kong scene in the mid 80s, and I really wasn't super familiar with her filmography. And I wanted to, I started to watch Yes, Madam, like a long time ago, like months and months ago, but I never finished it. And so last week I finished Yes, Madam, which is directed by Corey Yun and stars Cynthia Rothrock alongside Michelle Yeoh. And I also watched Above the Law, which is also known as Righting Wrongs. And I watched Magic Crystal from 1986. Cynthia Rothrock, I think, was a really underrated action star. I'm kind of surprised that she didn't have a bigger career. I mean, she's in a lot of movies, but it seemed like she was always playing second fiddle to someone else. And I think it's just a shame because she's so talented, not acting wise. Like acting wise, I'm not so sure about, but just her physical abilities. I mean, it's almost worth it to just watch. I think that instead of watching these full movies, you could probably just watch YouTube clips of Cynthia Rothrock in the various action scenes that she's in, because it's just incredible. Like when I'm watching some of these 80s Hong Kong kung fu flicks, it's just like they don't make them like this anymore. Like movies like this just don't exist anymore. I felt the same way when I watched the Criterion versions of Police Story 1 and 2.
Yeah.
The most interesting of the three that I watched, Yes, Madam was the best. I mean, the action scenes in that are incredible. Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock just kicking everybody's ass. It's insane. It's so much fun. And it looks very dangerous too. That's the other thing. One of the most interesting one out of the three that I watched is Magic Crystal, which is so bizarre. It stars Andy Lau. And Andy Lau teams up with Cynthia Rothrock. Cynthia Rothrock plays an Interpol agent, and they're trying to hunt down this crystal that is actually an alien. So it has like a mouth and like little feet. So it's got this like E.T. vibe. So it's a kung fu movie, but it also has elements of E.T., but also Indiana Jones. And it's just this weird amalgamation of these three movies, or these three types of movie. And the action is like almost, there's so much of it. There's just fight scene after fight scene after fight scene. It's just like almost wall to wall action. And it's It's so weird and so much fun. I would definitely recommend seeking out Magic Crystal from 1986. It's so bizarre. Andy Lau. Yeah, there's a great fight scene with Andy Lau where he fights a bunch of dudes with an umbrella, and it's really, really excellent work. All right, let's take a look at what we have coming out this week in theaters. We got some more stuff than last week. Last week was pretty light due to the holiday. Okay, so this week we have Playmobil, the movie. This one looks so bad. I don't know if you saw any trailers for this. Oh my goodness. Were you into Playmobil stuff when you were a kid?
No, that was something that I envied. People have Playmobil, and I wish I had Playmobil, but I never did.
I had a couple of the sets. People compare it to Lego, but the difference here is, like, with Playmobil you don't build anything. Like, the toys are just like play sets. There's nothing to build with Playmobil.
Exactly.
But I can also understand the comparison, especially with the movie. When you look at the trailer for the movie, it looks pretty much like a Lego movie ripoff, and it's not. Although I do see here that Kenan Thompson is voicing a character named Bloodbones.
Bloodbones.
Yeah.
Well, there's your movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's like a Viking or a pirate or.
Should just came out with a movie called Bloodbones. Kenan Thompson is Bloodbones.
We also have Dark Waters coming out. This is the one with Mark Ruffalo and Anne Hathaway, directed by Todd Haynes. It's about I think it's about the water.
I think DuPont. It's affected, I think, pretty much everything in the world. The harmful chemicals that they've used.
I'm interested in this one. I'll give it a look. In Fabric is coming out. This one I'm really excited for. This is the new Peter Strickland one.
Finally.
Yeah, very excited for this. It's about like a killer dress, I think. I'm pretty sure it's about a killer dress.
Well, I mean, the poster does say a killer dress, so it seems like all signs are pointing that way.
Yeah, well, I'm all about everything that Peter Strickland does, so yes, sign me up. We also have The Islands coming out. This is about, I think it might be a faith-based movie.
Ooh.
Tells the incredible true story of Chiefus Kapiolani, who descended into an active volcano to demonstrate her newfound faith in Christ, and who ushered in a new beginning in Hawaii.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Directed by Timothy A. Che, who hasn't really done a whole lot of note. He was the writer on a movie called Freedom that came out in 2015, starring Cuba Gooding Jr.
Okay.
Looks kind of rough. We have Daniel Isn't Real coming out. The Wolf Hour, starring Naomi Watts. We'll have a review for this up on the site. The Aeronauts. This is the one about hot air balloons. You got the old Eddie Redmayne, Felicity Jones combo coming back.
There you go. Hot air balloons.
Hot air balloons. This is directed by Tom Harper. So there's that.
Yeah.
He also did Wild Rose this year.
He's putting out two.
Yeah, put out two.
Oh my.
Yeah, this one is. I haven't really seen much about this. Like it's kind of. I feel like this is one that's sort of been under the radar. I mean, it doesn't look very good.
No, it kind of looks like a joke movie.
I was so we got sent a screener for this for year-end consideration, and I was talking to Ken about it, and I was like, this reminds me of that other movie that came out about Edison and Tesla. Like that I can't even remember the name of it, but it like came and went so fast.
God, yeah. What was that? God damn it.
I can't remember. It was like I want to say like The Masterminds or something like that, but I know it's not that. But either way, these two movies remind me of each other. Just, I don't know why, just like weird biopics that just fly under the radar.
Yeah.
We also have The Disappearance of My Mother, which is a documentary that looks pretty interesting. It's about this guy whose mother was a famous model, and she decides that she wants to like go into seclusion and completely cut herself off from the entire world, including her son.
Okay.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire coming out.
Okay. There's another one.
A lot of hype around this one.
Yeah.
Lots of hype. Hyping this one up big time. Are you interested in this one? You gonna give it a look?
I hope to see it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see it before year end. I'm gonna try my best. We'll see. See what happens.
Okay. That's sort of how I feel about it. Like I do want to try to squeeze this in before the end of the year. Like I'm pretty sure a movie like this wouldn't make it on any of my lists, but possibly performances and things like that. So I do want to try to squeeze it in. A Million Little Pieces is coming out. This is a thriller from the looks of it, directed by Sam Taylor Johnson, who is the wife of Aaron Taylor Johnson, who stars in this. 23 years apart, those two.
Mm-hmm.
She's 23 years older than him, which is, so he's 29, she's 52.
Mm-hmm.
And they must have met on that Nowhere Boy movie. And he probably would have been like 19 and she would have been like 46 or something.
All right.
So it's kind of interesting. I actually will occasionally see these two out and about. They live somewhere relatively close to me.
What? You just dropped that. Just drop that in there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be walking around and I just see the Taylor Johnson family. They go out jogging a lot. I see them jogging all over the place.
Are they always jogging?
Okay,
Please,
so
please tell me that 100% of the time it's jogging, no matter what time of day.
Well, I don't mean to say like I see them all the time. I've seen them like 3 times, and the 3 times that I've seen them, yes, they were jogging.
It doesn't matter, okay? Because in my head now, you see these guys almost daily, okay? And doesn't matter what time of day they're you could be out at 3 a.m. They're jogging. That's my world. That's what
like
I see.
I used to see Judah Friedlander every day, and he would always be walking vigorously wherever he was going, with that like his long hair like swaying back and forth, and he just looked like he was going somewhere with purpose every time I would see him.
Yeah, he had stuff to do.
Yeah. We've got Midnight Family. This is another documentary about it's a family-run ambulance.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be an interesting watch too. We got Little Joe.
Holy
this
shit.
is another one.
How many movies we got here?
I See You. This is a horror movie with Helen Hunt in it. I don't know. It doesn't look great. So that's it for theaters. Let's take a look at what we have on VOD this week. We got American Hunt. That's a horror movie. We got Red Handed. That's another horror movie. We got Edie, which is about an older woman going on an adventure after her husband passed away. We got Tower of Silence. This looks like some sort of fantasy horror. We got To Kid or Not to Kid. It's a documentary. We got The Tokalosh, which is a horror movie. The Tokalosh.
Say that one more time.
The Tokalosh.
Nice. Thank you.
Or maybe it's Tokaloshi. I don't know. We got Blood Rags coming out. Obviously, that's a horror movie.
Sorry.
The tagline for this one is "The price is blood."
Oh,
what's the price? The price is blood. We have The Boy, the Dog, and the Clown. The tagline for this one is "To believe is magic." Yeah. The Boy, the Dog, and the Clown. Got another horror movie called This Is Our Home. They dreamt of a child until he arrived.
Oh.
That dream turned into a nightmare, I bet. Those are all on the 3rd. On the 6th, we have Little Joe, Daniel Isn't Real, I See You, We got a new Christmas, not to be confused with the old shitty Christmas.
Oh, God.
We got Beyond the Law, which is starring Steven Seagal and DMX. Steven Seagal and DMX and Johnny Messner.
Wow.
And it looks like that's about it for VOD. Blu-ray this week, we have Ready or Not. I would highly recommend seeing that one. Arrow is putting out Slaughterhouse 5 from 1972. It looks like Big Trouble in Little China is getting some kind of collector's edition Blu-ray and a steelbook. The steelbook doesn't look great to me. Look, they could have done a little bit better with that cover. 1982's She is coming out on Blu-ray. The Goldfinch from earlier this year. Jake Speed from 1986. That's coming out on Arrow. Jake Speed.
Yes.
1984's Dog Day. I see Waterworld here. I'm pretty sure that already came out. So maybe this is some sort of like re-release that's like the non-collector's edition version of it. That's an Arrow Video release too, but that wasn't on their list that they send me every month. So I'm thinking that this is like a re-release that doesn't include all of the extra stuff that came with that box set that they released earlier in the year.
Gotcha.
Semper Fi from earlier this year. Portals from earlier this year.
I don't know why. Just the way he said that.
Who Let the Dogs Out? That's the documentary about the song Who Let the Dogs Out.
Did you text me about that?
I am 100%.
Between that and Fiddler, I'm just disappointed.
No, I'm 100% certain that I texted you about this one because I distinctly remember the Who Let the Baja Men documentary.
Because I also feel like that, like if anything, you might have like called me about that. That could be something that would warrant a phone call.
Yeah, I mean it's not just about the Baja Men. It's like specifically about that one song too, which makes it even better.
Which, yeah, I can't imagine that you let news of that go by without you dropping everything and getting your phone and texting me that information.
Yeah, and I remember sending you. Yeah, I remember sending you that. It was a long time ago. That's pretty much it for Blu-ray. What about Criterion's?
We have two again. Tunes of Glory from 1960. Not a whole lot going on there with special features, just a new 4K digital restoration. It's a couple of interviews, and that's about it for that one. And then 1933's the story of Temple Drake. And this one also, not a whole lot of special features, a couple of new programs, conversations and interviews, that kind of thing. And that's it.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast at filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter at filmpulsenet and at filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, please consider reviewing us on your podcast platform of choice. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.